I need to tell you something before my hands stop shaking enough to type this. Before I lose my nerve. Before I convince myself I deserve to keep this buried. My name is Marcus, and I destroyed my family based on a lie I told myself every single day for 3 years. It started so small. That's what I keep coming back to. How something so catastrophic began with a single text message that made my heart race in a way my wife's messages hadn't in years. Her name was Vanessa. She worked in marketing at the firm that partnered with my company. We had legitimate reasons to communicate. Professional reasons. I told myself that for weeks before I admitted what was really happening. The first time I lied to my wife Sarah, it felt like swallowing glass. She asked why I was smiling at my phone and I said it was a funny meme from my college buddy. The second mic came easier. The third was effortless. Sarah and I had been together since sophomore year of college. Married for 8 years. 2 kids. Lily was 6 and Marcus Jr. was 4. We had the house with the blue shutters that she spent 3 weekends painting by hand. We had Friday movie nights where MJ would fall asleep on my chest. We had everything. But somewhere between the diaper years and the monotony of it all, I convinced myself I had missed out. That I had settled too young. That the spark was gone and maybe it was supposed to be. Vanessa was exciting. She laughed at my jokes. She asked about my day and actually seemed interested. She made me feel like I was 23 again instead of a 32-year-old man with a receding hairline and back pain. The emotional affair lasted 4 months before it became physical. I'm not going to describe that moment because it doesn't matter. What matters is that I chose it. I drove to that hotel. I turned off my location. I texted Sarah that I was working late on the Henderson account. What matters is that when I came home at 11 p.m., Lily was still awake. She had waited up because she wanted to show me a drawing she made at school. It was our family. She had drawn me taller than I actually am, holding her hand, with a smile that took up half my face. I hugged her and told her it was beautiful. Then I went upstairs and showed my wife the exact same face I had given our daughter. The same lie. The same smile. I did this for 6 months. 6 months of being 2 people. The devoted father who coached MJ's D-ball team. The loving husband who still kissed Sarah goodbye every morning. And the man who had a whole separate life that made him feel alive in a way his real life didn't anymore. I was so careful. Burner phone. Separate email. I cleared browser history like I was hiding state secrets. I thought I was smart. I thought I had it under control. Then my father had a stroke. It was massive. The doctors used words like catastrophic and minimal brain activity. My mother was hysterical. My sister flew in from Portland. The whole family descended on County Memorial Hospital like we were gathering for the end of something. Because we were. Dad had 3 days, maybe 4. We took shifts at his bedside. Sarah brought the kids once. Lily held his hand and sang him the song he used to sing to her at bedtime. MJ was too scared to get close to all the machines. On the second night, around 2 a.m., my Uncle David found me in the hospital cafeteria. I was the only one there except for a janitor mopping the floors. Uncle David looked like he had aged 10 years in 2 days. My father was his baby brother. They had been inseparable growing up. He sat down across from me without saying anything. Just stared at his coffee cup like it held answers to the questions he hadn't asked yet. Then he started talking. "Your father made me promise never to tell you this," he said. His voice was shaking. "But he's not going to wake up, Marcus. And I can't let you make the same mistake he almost made." I had no idea what he was talking about. 23 years ago, your father had an affair. The words hit me like a physical blow. My father. My dad who took my mom dancing every anniversary. Who still held her hand at church. Who had been the model of what I thought a husband should be. It lasted almost a year, Uncle David continued. With the woman from his office. Your mother never found out, but I knew. I covered for him. I lied for him. I watched him destroy himself with guilt while he kept up the charade. My throat felt like sandpaper. "Why are you telling me this?" He looked at me then. Really looked at me. "Because I see the same thing in your eyes that I saw in his. That hollow look. Like you're living 2 lives and dying in both of them." I couldn't breathe. "He ended it eventually," Uncle David said. "Broke it off, cut all contact. Threw himself into being the husband and father he should have been all along. But Marcus, the guilt never left him. Not for a single day in 23 years. It ate him. I watched my brother torture himself for decades over a mistake he could never undo, never confess, never make right. He reached across the table and grabbed my wrist. His grip was tight enough to hurt. 2 months ago, your father told me something. He said if he could go back, He would have confessed everything to your mother the day it started. He said keeping the secret was worse than the affair itself. He said he spent 23 years looking at the woman he loved and knowing he didn't deserve her. That he robbed himself of ever feeling truly forgiven because he never gave her the chance to forgive him. Tears were running down Uncle David's face now. He made me promise to tell you this if anything ever happened to him. He said I would know if you needed to hear it. And Marcus, I'm looking at you right now and I know. Whatever you're doing, whatever you think you're hiding, it ends now. Or it will rot you from the inside out just like it did to him. I tried to speak but nothing came out. He wanted you to know that the affair wasn't the worst part, my uncle whispered. Living with the lie was. Watching your mother love a version of him that didn't exist anymore. Watching his kids grow up calling him their hero while he knew the truth. That was the real hell. I sat in that cafeteria until 4 a.m., long after Uncle David went back upstairs. Then I pulled out my phone. Both of them. I ended it with Vanessa in a 3-sentence text. I blocked her number. I deleted every message, every photo, every trace of the double life I had built. Then I went home. Sarah was asleep on a couch, the TV still on. She had waited up for me but exhaustion had won. There was a plate of food covered in plastic wrap on the counter. She had made my favorite even though she was dealing with her own grief about my father. I stood there in our living room, surrounded by the evidence of the life I had been ready to blow up. MJ's toys scattered across the carpet. Lily's backpack by the door with a spelling test on the fridge marked 100% in red marker. Sarah's coffee mug from the morning still in the sink, the one I had given her that said world's best mom. And I realized something that made my legs give out. I had become my father. But I didn't have his courage to at least keep the secret. I didn't have his strength to carry that guilt to my grave. I didn't have his luck that my wife might never find out. Because 3 days later, as we buried my father, as I held Sarah's hand and felt like the biggest fraud in the cemetery, I got a message on Facebook. From Vanessa's husband. He knew everything. The message sat in my Facebook inbox like a ticking bomb for exactly 4 hours before I opened it. We were at the post-funeral reception at my mother's house. Sarah was in the kitchen with my sister, organizing casserole dishes that neighbors kept bringing like carbs could somehow fill the hole my father left. Lily and MJ were in the backyard with their cousins, their laughter feeling obscene against the weight of the day. I was in my father's study, surrounded by his things. His reading glasses on the desk. His coffee mug with the faded logo from the hardware store he managed for 30 years. The smell of his cologne still hanging in the air. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again. The preview was enough. We need to talk about what you did to my family. My hands went numb. I locked the door, sat down in my father's chair, and opened the message. My name is Derek Chan. You know my wife. You've been sleeping with her for 6 months. She confessed everything to me last night. She's destroyed. Our kids are confused why mommy won't stop crying. And I need you to understand what you've done before I decide what happens next. There were screenshots, text messages I thought I had deleted, photos Vanessa had apparently kept, dates and times that lined up perfectly with every lie I had told Sarah about working late, about client dinners, about weekend conferences. The message continued, I have children. A 9-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. They asked me this morning why Daddy was sleeping in the guest room. What am I supposed to tell them? That their mother fell in love with someone else? That a stranger decided our family wasn't worth protecting? My vision was blurring. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell your wife. Every detail. Every lie. Every time you chose my wife over yours. Because if you don't, I will. I will send her every screenshot. I will call her. I will make sure she knows exactly who she married. He gave me 48 hours. I sat in that study until Sarah came looking for me. She opened the door with the spare key, found me staring at my phone with tears streaming down my face. Baby, what's wrong? She rushed over, her hand on my shoulder. Is it your dad? I know today was so hard. I almost told her then. Almost let it spill out in one horrible confession. Instead, I said yes. I let her think I was crying about my father. I let her hold me while I shook. I let her comfort me with words about grief and healing and time making things easier. I was a coward. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to Sarah, listening to her breathe, watching the rise and fall of her chest in the moonlight coming through the window. She had one hand tucked under her pillow, the other resting on my arm even in sleep. Like she needed to maintain contact. Like after 8 years of marriage, she still chose to reach for me in her dreams. I thought about my father. About Uncle David's story. About 23 years of secret guilt eating someone alive from the inside. But I also thought about what my father had, but I didn't. He had a wife who never found out. He had gotten away with it, in the cruelest sense of the phrase. He lived his whole life knowing he had betrayed her, but he never had to watch her learn that truth. Never had to see the exact moment her world collapsed. I wasn't going to have that mercy. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Sarah took the kids to school. I had 7 hours before she got home. I spent the first hour throwing up, the second hour sitting in the shower until the water ran cold, the third hour writing and deleting the same text message to Derek Jen over and over, begging for more time, promising anything, offering everything. I never sent it. What was the point? By hour 4, I had made my decision. I was going to tell her. Not because Derek demanded it. Not because my uncle's story scared me straight. But because I looked at the wedding photo on our mantle and I didn't recognize the man in the tuxedo. The one who promised forever with tears in his eyes. The one who actually meant it. I wanted to be him again. Even if it was too late. Sarah came home at 3:15 p.m. Alone. The kids had play dates. We had the house to ourselves. She found me at the kitchen table. I had laid out our wedding album in front of me like evidence at a trial. "Marcus, you're scaring me." She set down her purse. "What's going on?" "Sit down," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. She sat. I told her everything. I'm not going to recount the words because they don't matter. Nothing I said could have prepared her. Nothing I confessed could have softened the blow. I watched my wife of 8 years, the mother of my children, the only woman I had ever truly loved, break apart in real time. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Not at first. She just stared at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Like if she looked hard enough, she would find the husband she knew underneath the stranger sitting across from her. How long? Her voice was barely a whisper. 6 months. 6 months. She repeated it like she was testing how the words felt. 6 months of coming home to me. Of kissing me. Of sleeping next to me. Of being with our children. Sarah. Don't. She held up her hand. Don't say my name like you still have the right to. The first tear fell then. Just one. Rolling down her cheek and landing on the table between us. Did you love her? The question I had been dreading. I thought I did. I was wrong. You thought you did. She laughed, but it was hollow. You destroyed our marriage because you thought you were in love? I wasn't thinking. I was selfish and stupid and I made the worst mistake of my life. No. She stood up. The worst mistake of your life was telling me. Because now I have to know. Now I have to live with this. Now I have to explain to our children why mommy and daddy aren't together anymore. Sarah, please. We can work through this. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. I'll do anything. She looked at me then with an expression I had never seen on her face before. Pure disgust. You'll do anything? Where was that commitment 6 months ago? Where was that devotion when you were texting her good night while I fell asleep next to you? Where was that love when you were lying to my face every single day? I had no answer. Get out, she said quietly. Sarah. Get out of my house. Louder now. Get out before the kids come home. Pack a bag and get out and don't come back tonight. I left. I drove to a motel off the highway. The kind with hourly rates and a flickering neon sign. I sat on a bed that smelled like cigarettes and bleach and I called my sister. She already knew. Sarah had called her. My sister, who had been my best friend growing up, who had been my best woman at my wedding, answered on the 4th ring. I can't believe you, she said instead of hello. I can't believe you would do this. To Sarah. To those kids. After everything Dad just. Jesus, Marcus. What were you thinking? I don't know. That's not good enough. That's not even close to good enough. I know. Mom's going to be devastated. You know that, right? She just buried Dad and now she has to find out her son is. She couldn't finish the sentence. Don't tell her yet, I begged. Please. Let me. Let you what? Let you spin this? Let you control the narrative? No. She deserves to know who you really are. We all do, apparently. She hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in that motel room watching the ceiling fan go around and around, thinking about the last 48 hours. My father dying. My uncle's confession. Derek's message. Sarah's face. The next morning, I got a text from Sarah's lawyer. She had already filed for divorce. The papers arrived by courier at noon. I signed them in the motel parking lot while a guy watched his car 3 spaces down, completely unaware that he was witnessing the end of someone's life as they knew it. I wasn't allowed back in the house except to get my things. Sarah's brother would be there to supervise. I had 1 hour. When I arrived, my stuff was already in boxes in the garage. She had packed for me. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, my books, everything that was mine, separated from everything that was ours, like she was extracting a tumor. My wedding ring was on top of the first box. Her brother wouldn't look at me, just stood there with his arms crossed, making sure I didn't try to go inside, making sure I didn't contaminate the house with my presence any more than I already had. I loaded the boxes into my car. 17 boxes for 8 years of marriage. It took 3 trips. As I was putting the last box in my trunk, I heard something that made my blood freeze. "Daddy?" Lily was standing in the driveway. She must have convinced Sarah's brother to let her come out. She was wearing her school uniform and carrying her backpack. It was Tuesday. I should have known what time she got home. "Hey, sweetheart." I tried to smile, but my face wouldn't cooperate. "Why are you taking your stuff? Are you going on a trip?" Sarah's brother moved to stop the conversation, but I held up my hand. This was my mess. My daughter deserved better than whispered explanations and adult lies. I knelt down so we were eye level. "Daddy's going to stay somewhere else for a while." "Why?" "Because Mommy and Daddy need some space right now." "But why?" Her eyes were filling with tears. She knew. Kids always know when their world is about to change. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes," I said. "And sometimes those mistakes mean things have to be different for a while." "What kind of mistake?" She was crying now. "Did you break something?" "We can fix it. I'll help you fix it, Daddy." I pulled her into a hug and I felt something inside me shatter completely. "I love you so much," I whispered into her hair. "That will never change. No matter what." "Then don't leave." She was sobbing now. "Please don't leave." Sarah appeared at the door. Her eyes were red and swollen. She had been crying all morning. Maybe all night. She looked at me holding our daughter and her face hardened. "Lily, come inside." "But Mommy." "Now, Lily." My daughter pulled away from me slowly, like she was being dragged underwater. She walked to her mother without looking back. The door closed. I heard the lock click. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could see well enough to drive. I moved into a studio apartment on the other side of town. 600 square feet that cost twice as much as my half of the mortgage. I could hear my neighbor's TV through the wall. I could smell whatever the person upstairs was cooking. There was a stain on the carpet that looked like blood but might have been wine. This was my life now. Sarah wouldn't talk to me except through lawyers. Her family had already started posting cryptic Facebook statuses about betrayal and karma. My mother called me crying, demanding to know if it was true. My sister sent me a text that just said Dad would be ashamed of you and nothing else. She was right. I had visitation with the kids 1 weekend a month, supervised for the first 6 months. 1 weekend. I went from tucking them in every night to seeing them 4 times a year. The first supervised visit was at a neutral location. A room at a community center with a court-appointed mediator watching everything. There were toys for the kids, but they looked wrong. Too new. Too bright. Like someone's idea of what children enjoy, but not what my children actually liked. MJ didn't understand why I couldn't come home. He kept asking when I was coming back. Kept saying he missed me at bedtime. Kept showing me drawings he made of our family that now included just him, his sister, and Sarah. I wasn't in the pictures anymore. Lily wouldn't talk to me at all. She sat in the corner reading a book, ignoring every attempt I made at conversation. She was 6 years old and she had already decided I wasn't worth her words. Near the end of the hour, she finally looked at me. "You made Mommy cry," she said flatly. "Every night I hear her crying in her room." "That's your fault." The mediator tried to intervene but Lily kept going. "Mommy says you lied to us. Then you broke a promise. You said we were a family forever." "We are still a family," I tried. "No, we're not." She went back to her book. "Families don't break. You broke us." That night, I Googled how to stop feeling like dying when you've destroyed everything you love. The internet didn't have answers. 3 weeks later, I found out through a mutual friend that everyone knew. Vanessa's husband had posted everything on Facebook. Every message, every lie, every detail of the affair. He tagged me. He tagged Sarah. He tagged my mother. He made sure everyone in my life knew exactly what I had done. My boss called me into his office the next day. The company was moving in a different direction with my position. They thanked me for my service. Security escorted me out. I was unemployed, divorced, living in a studio apartment that smelled like regret, and estranged from my children. And the worst part? I deserved all of it. But it got worse. It always gets worse. 6 months after my father's funeral, I was unrecognizable. I had lost 30 pounds. Not in a good way. In the forgot to eat for 3 days way. In the food tastes like hash way. My apartment was a disaster. Empty takeout containers piled on the counter. Laundry I hadn't bothered to wash. Bills I hadn't bothered to open. I had gone to 3 job interviews. No offers. Turns out when you Google someone's name and the first result is a detailed account of their affair posted by the wronged husband, employers get nervous about your character and judgment. I was living off my savings and watching them drain like blood from a wound. My mother stopped answering my calls after I missed my father's 6-month memorial. I didn't miss it because I forgot. I missed it because I couldn't face the family. Couldn't stand in the church where I got married and pretend I deserved to mourn alongside people who actually kept their vows. My sister sent me a text that day. Dad's grave has fresh flowers from everyone who loved him. You would know that if you showed up. But I guess showing up was never your strength. I wanted to be angry. Wanted to defend myself. But she was right. The supervised visits with Lily and MJ continued. Once a month. 2 hours. A mediator taking notes on everything I said, everything I did, making sure I wasn't a danger to my own children. MJ had started acting out at school. Sarah's lawyer made sure I knew it was my fault. Behavioral issues stemming from paternal abandonment and family disruption. Those were the actual words in the custody evaluation report. My 4-year-old was in therapy because of me. Lily still barely spoke to me. When she did, it was to tell me facts about her life like she was reading from a script. I got an A on my book report. I'm taking swimming lessons. My birthday is next month. She didn't invite me to her 7th birthday party. I found out about it from a photo Sarah's sister posted on Facebook. Lily surrounded by friends and family, blowing out candles on a cake shaped like a unicorn. Sarah smiling in the background. Everyone looked happy. Everyone looked like they had moved on from the way they used to be in their lives. I wasn't in a single photo. It was like I never existed. That's when I started drinking. Not a lot at first. Just enough to sleep. Just enough to quiet the voice in my head that sounded like my father asking me what the hell I had done. Just enough to stop seeing Sarah's face the day I confessed. Just enough to forget Lily saying you broke us. But just enough became a bottle a night. Then too, I woke up one morning on my bathroom floor with no memory of how I got there. My phone had 17 missed calls. 3 from my lawyer. 14 from a number I didn't recognize. I called my lawyer back first. You missed the custody hearing, he said. No greeting. Just disappointment. My stomach dropped. What? This morning. 9 a.m. The hearing to determine if you get unsupervised visitation. You were supposed to be there. The judge waited 20 minutes. Sarah's lawyer argued that your absence proves you're not committed to being in your children's lives. I had it marked on my calendar. I swear I looked at my phone. The reminder was there. I had slept through it. Slept through my alarm. Slept through everything because I drank myself unconscious the night before. The judge extended the supervised visitation for another 6 months. And Marcus? She wasn't happy. She made comments about your reliability and commitment. This isn't good. After I hung up, I called the unknown number. It was Derek Chan. I heard you lost your job, he said. No introduction. Like we were old friends catching up. What do you want? I want you to know that Vanessa and I are in counseling. We're trying to save our marriage. It's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But we're trying because our kids deserve parents who don't quit when things get difficult. Each word was a knife. I'm calling because my therapist suggested I talk to you. Suggested I get closure. So here's what I need to say. I forgive you. I wasn't expecting that. Not for you, he continued. For me. Because hating you was eating me alive. But here's the thing about forgiveness. It doesn't mean I forget. It doesn't mean what you did is okay. It means I'm choosing to let go of the anger so it doesn't poison everything else in my life. I couldn't speak. You know what's funny? Vanessa told me you were planning to leave your wife. That you talked about a future together. That she actually thought you loved her. But the moment things got hard, the moment there were consequences, you ran. You didn't fight for her. You didn't fight for anything. You just collapsed. I never promised her. I don't care what you promised her. I care that you helped destroy my family and then you couldn't even own it with dignity. You lost your job, your wife, your kids, and instead of fighting to fix anything, you just, what? Gave up? Started drinking? Became exactly what everyone knew you were? How did you? Your ex-wife and I talk. Did you know that? Our families were destroyed by the same person. We support each other. She told me about the missed hearing, about the supervised visits, about your son's therapy sessions where he draws pictures of his family and leaves you out. I hung up, threw my phone across the room, watched it shatter against the wall. I sat on that bathroom floor for hours. That night, I tried to pray. I hadn't prayed since my father's funeral. Hadn't talked to God since the day I confessed to Sarah. What was the point? What could I possibly say that would matter? But I tried anyway. I don't know if you're listening. I don't know if I deserve for you to listen. But if you are, I need you to know that I understand now. I understand what my father carried. I understand why Uncle David looked at me with pity. I understand everything. No answer came. Just silence and the sound of my neighbor's DV through the wall. A week later, I got a letter from Sarah's lawyer. She was requesting full custody. No visitation. Permanent termination of my parental rights. The reasoning was listed in clinical language: pattern of unreliability, missed scheduled visitations, failed to maintain employment, evidence of substance abuse, behavior indicating inability to provide stable environment for minor children. They were going to take my kids away completely. I called my lawyer in a panic. He was blunt. You need to get your life together immediately. Rehab. New job. Clean apartment. Therapy. Character witnesses. You need to prove you're not the person this paperwork describes. And Marcus, you need to do it fast. I checked myself into an outpatient program the next day. Told them everything. The affair. The divorce. The drinking. The way I could still see my daughter's face when she said you broke us. My counselor was a woman named Patricia who had kind eyes and no patience for excuses. Do you want to get better? She asked in our first session. Yes. Why? Because I want my kids back. Wrong answer. She leaned forward. You need to want to get better for you. Not for your kids. Not for your ex-wife. Not to look good in court. For you. Because until you believe you're worth saving, nothing else matters. I don't know if I am worth saving. Then we have work to do. I went to meetings 3 times a week. Sat in circles with other people who had destroyed their lives in different ways. Listened to stories about rock bottom. Shared my own. I got a job at a warehouse. Night shift. Loading trucks. It paid barely above minimum wage. It was exhausting. It was humiliating. It was honest work and I was grateful for it. I cleaned my apartment. Threw away the takeout containers. Did the laundry. Opened the bills. Started paying down what I owed. I started therapy. Real therapy. Not court-mandated. Not for show. Actual work on understanding why I had blown up my life. My therapist asked questions I didn't want to answer. What were you running from? What did you think the affair would give you? What did you think you were missing? The answers came slowly. Painfully. I was running from responsibility. From the monotony of adult life. From the realization that marriage isn't constant excitement and passion. It's choosing the same person every day even when it's boring. Even when it's hard. I thought the affair would make me feel young again. Would make me feel desired. Would make me feel like I still had options. Like I was still the guy I was at 23 instead of the guy I was at 32 with a mortgage and thinning hair and a routine that looked like every other suburban dad's routine. I thought I was missing out on something. On passion. On excitement. On the feeling of falling in love instead of the work of staying in love. I was wrong about all of it. 3 months sober, I requested a hearing to contest Sarah's custody motion. My lawyer warned me it was a long shot. Told me to prepare for disappointment. The hearing was in a small courtroom that smelled like old wood and fluorescent lights. Sarah sat on one side with her lawyer. I sat on the other side with mine. We didn't look at each other. Her lawyer went first. Detailed every way I had failed. Every missed visit. Every broken promise. Every sign that I was unfit to be in my children's lives. Then my lawyer presented evidence of my recovery. 3 months of clean drug tests. Proof of employment. Letters from my counselor and my sponsor. Testimony from Patricia about my progress. The judge looked at me. Mr. Peterson, why should I believe you've changed? Why should I trust that you won't disappoint these children again? I stood up. Hands shaking. Voice barely steady. Your Honor, I can't promise I won't disappoint them. I've already done that in ways I can't undo. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I can only promise that I'm trying. I'm sober. I'm working. I'm in therapy. I'm doing everything I can to become someone they might be able to forgive someday. Forgiveness isn't guaranteed, Mr. Peterson. I know. But I have to try. They're my children. They deserve a father who at least tries. The judge was silent for a long moment. Then, I'm going to allow supervised visitation to continue. Monthly, 2-hour sessions. If you maintain sobriety, employment, and consistent attendance for 6 months, we'll revisit on supervised visitation. But Mr. Peterson, this is your last chance. There won't be another one. I wanted to feel relieved. Wanted to feel like I had won something. But I looked at Sarah and saw the tears streaming down her face. Saw the way her whole body was shaking. And I realized she was terrified. Terrified I would hurt our children again. Terrified I would disappoint them again. Terrified I would damage them more than I already had. She had every right to be. That night, I called my mother for the first time in months. She answered on the third ring. Mom, I'm sorry. For everything. For missing the memorial. For what I did to Sarah and the kids. For letting you down. For not being the son Dad raised me to be. She was quiet for so long I thought she had hung up. Your father would want you to keep trying, she finally said. Her voice was thick with emotion. He made mistakes too. He would understand. But Marcus? Understanding isn't the same as approval. You broke that family. You broke those children's sense of security. That's going to take more than 3 months of meetings and a warehouse job to fix. I know. Do you really understand that Lily and MJ might never trust you again? That Sarah will never look at you the same way? That you can't just turn this back? Yes. Good. Because the only thing worse than what you did would be giving up now. Those children need to see that when someone makes a terrible mistake, they don't just quit. They keep showing up. Even when it's hard. Even when they don't deserve forgiveness. They keep showing up. 6 months later, I got on supervised visitation. 4 hours every other weekend. The kids would come to my apartment. I bought him Jay's favorite snacks. I got Lily the new book series she had been reading. I cleaned until the place sparkled. I was ready. They came with Sarah. She walked them to my door but wouldn't come inside. 4 hours, she said. Not to me. To them. I'll be back in 4 hours. MJ ran inside immediately, excited to explore. Lily stood in the doorway like she was deciding whether to cross a threshold she might not be able to come back from. You don't have to stay if you don't want to, I told her. I know this is hard. She looked up at me with eyes that were too old for 7. Mom says I should give you a chance. She says people can change if they try hard enough. Do you believe that? She shrugged. I don't know yet. She came inside. We spent 4 hours together. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like it used to be. MJ kept asking when we were going home, meaning Sarah's house, not mine. Lily corrected him every time, this isn't home. But we played games. We read books. We ate pizza. We were together. When Sarah came to pick them up, Lily hugged me goodbye. It was brief. It was stiff, but it was something. After they left, I sat in my empty apartment and cried. Not from sadness. From the glimpse of what I might be able to rebuild. From the possibility that I might not have destroyed everything beyond repair. But I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Lily asked Sarah if she could tell the judge she didn't want to visit me anymore. She was 7 years old and she was done giving me chances. Sarah called to tell me. Her voice was gentle in a way that made it worse. She says it hurts too much. That every time she sees you, she remembers what her family used to be. That she can't do it anymore. What about MJ? He's 5. He doesn't understand enough to make that choice yet. But Marcus, she's old enough to remember everything. She's old enough to understand what you did. And she's old enough to decide she can't keep forgiving you just because you're trying. Can I talk to her? Can I just? No. She asked me specifically not to let you call. She needs space. She needs to heal. And right now, you're the wound that won't close. The custody agreement was modified. MJ would visit. Lily wouldn't. I had joint custody of one child and no contact with the other. I wanted to fight it. Wanted to demand my rights as a father. But my lawyer looked at me with something close to pity and said, sometimes the most fatherly thing you can do is let them go. So I did. I see MJ every other weekend now. He's 6. He tells me about school. About his friends. About the new bike Sarah bought him. He doesn't ask why Lily doesn't come anymore. I think on some level he understands. But he's started asking about getting a new dad. About whether mom might marry someone else someday. About whether that person would be his real dad. You're my real dad, I tell him every time. I know, he says. But you don't live with us. Real dads live with their kids. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that you gave up that privilege? That you traded real dad for every other weekend dad because you wanted something exciting? You don't. You just sit with the weight of it. I still go to meetings. Still work at the warehouse. Still see my therapist. I'm 2 years sober now. I have an apartment that's clean. I have a job that's stable. I have one child who visits me and one who won't. I have a life that looks nothing like the one I had before. Sometimes I drive past the house with the blue shutters. There's a different car in the driveway now. I don't know whose. I don't want to know. But I see the curtain Sarah painted that one summer. See the tree where I built Lily a tire swing. See the bedroom window where I used to read MJ bedtime stories. Someone else is living in the house I bought. Someone else is sleeping next to the woman I married. Someone else might become the father my children needed. And it's my fault. Uncle David died last year. Heart attack. Sudden. At his funeral, I stood next to the casket and I wanted to tell him I understood. That I carried the same weight my father carried. But I carried it knowing everyone knew the truth. There was no secret to protect. No lie to maintain. Just public shame and permanent consequence. I don't know which is worse. Last week, I got a letter from Lily. Sarah said she wanted to write it herself. To tell me how she felt. I opened it with shaking hands. It said, "Dear Dad, I don't hate you. I want you to know that. But I can't see you right now. Maybe when I'm older I'll understand better. Mom says you're trying hard to be better. I hope that's true. I hope you're happy. But I need to be happy too. And right now seeing you makes me sad. Love, Lily." I keep that letter in my wallet. Read it when I'm tempted to drink. When I'm tempted to give up. When I forget why I'm doing any of this. I'm doing it because my daughter asked me to be better. Even though she can't watch me do it. That's the thing about betrayal. The people you hurt the most have every right to never give you another chance. Every right to walk away. Every right to move on without you. And sometimes love means letting them. I think about my father every day. About the affair he had that no one knew about. About the guilt he carried to his grave. About Uncle David's confession that changed everything. My father got to keep his family. Got to die with his secret intact. Got to be remembered as a good husband and father. I don't get that. My gravestone won't say loving father. It'll say supervised visitation and every other weekend and the one who broke everything. I destroyed my family chasing something that didn't exist. I traded forever for 6 months of feeling alive. I gave up tucking my kids in every night for text messages that made my heart race. And now I'm a stranger in my own children's lives. If you're reading this because you're thinking about it, because there's someone who makes you feel things your spouse doesn't anymore, because you think you can get away with it or that it won't hurt anyone or that you deserve to be happy, stop. Because this is where it leads. Not to some passionate love story. Not to finding yourself. To supervised visits with your own children. To watching them grow up through photographs on social media. To being erased from the family photos like you never existed, to becoming the cautionary tale your uncle tells at your father's deathbed, hoping it's not too late to save you from yourself. It was too late for me the moment I sent that first text message. I have one child who still calls me daddy and one who signs her letters with love but can't look me in the eye. I have a life that runs on warehouse shifts and court-mandated sobriety, and every night I go to sleep in an apartment that echoes with everything I lost. My father kept his secret for 23 years, but mine became public knowledge in 72 hours, and I learned that the only thing worse than living with the guilt is watching everyone you love learn to live without you.